guess it's fine.
I think this will be alright. Maybe. I don't know.
I got it. Will they don't say anything there. Here, I'll go ask her. Co-principal. In the car. I saw her in her car.
Hey, Mama. Hey, babe.
I looked to the side and then
That's good.
go in the car waving.
Where'd Shelby go?
She's gonna find out where the kids go. You see somebody real. Thanks. You stay here. Yep, you stay here. Find your seat, buddy. Are you sitting with your meeting? I'm gonna be sitting somewhere. Sit next to you. You guys can come in. Thank you.
Let me see that video.
Hey, you want to get up? How you doing?
You look so handsome.
No, let us sit right here. How was it like the mom? Like a real mom haircut.
Oh, no.
But not in a bad way. But not in a bad way. No, it's not in a bad way. Like a nice, like clean cut. Yeah, like a nice clean cut and everything. I don't think I've ever seen you with like shorter hair. So it's a nice look for you. It really is. Let me give you this. Where's my phone?
I think I would have failed.
Come here for a second. Doing okay, Robbie? I haven't seen them forever. I wanted to ask you about so if somebody wanted to get into like what would be the best way to like get into that trade? Like obviously you can't.
No, they got all kinds of apprentice work. That's basically it is. Find out what type of welding you want to do and find it pretty good.
And so it wouldn't be something like, one size fits all, like,
It's like me, I'm an iron worker. I've been welder on it a very long time. I deal with cranes and building buildings together.
I remember, like, a long time ago, you got the cool phone. You got the cool, like, put that. Oh, fuck.
I promise
So
it's not
cool.
to-
It's so cool. But, I remember a while ago, you were taking a test, or, like, or you getting ready to take a test for, like, the shipyard.
Yeah.
And everything. And so I didn't know if there had to be like certain like requirements before getting into it, or if you had to go to training or like how it works.
The train's pretty good. That way you just see like it. I put on production. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You guys get into a pretty good program and you do all this stuff.
It's a baby step process. I know it's a baby step kind of process, but I didn't know I didn't even know there was different types of like but
Industry,
but I'm sure that like the materials are used too well with too. You gotta have to understand that, like what doesn't go with what's gonna weld and base.
Potential strains, all that stuff is processed.
I will relay the message to anything, but it's definitely something to do.
That is, you got to do your research. Find out what type, where. Well, you'll be able to get a job anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, they hire welders time and up.
And that's what I was thinking, like, you're always going to need somebody to weld, whether you're in a shop, a building, whatever you're doing, like, something.
So like us, we're in the union. I can call any union in any state. If they got work, like fly down that night.
And it's a welder's union, so it's not like,
Yeah, well, I'm in not like an iron worker union, but we hire welders too.
got it. So, I got it. Okay.
like all of us know how to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Then there's the shipyard, you know, you can be a shipbuilder, and, you know,
That's a whole different type of like
that's a whole,
the old country.
and that's what they do all day long.
Gosh. Oh look, here's a spot right here for me. I didn't realize it was so small right here. Thank you, Bobby, for all the information, man.
It's a lot. It's something you need to do your homework on.
Yeah, well, I mean, just the metals, and it's that in itself, because we've been watching this guy called, it's called Big Stack on YouTube, and he like melts, like I watched one where he took apart like stuff in a sewing machine, like the actual, I guess, like mold for it, and melted it down, and he'll heat like the aluminum bricks, copper bricks, things like that. And so he talks about like how much heat it needs to melt, and like yeah, with welding, it just seems like there's a lot of science that goes into it.
A lot to it.
Jackson, I didn't get to say hi to you. Good. How was
Good. And also when I came out, Caleb's bus was just behind me.
what? So you be beautiful.
Yeah.
Baja.
Caleb gets off at 3 o'clock. I get off at like 3:30. But usually my bus comes like up like pretty late, so it'd usually be like something like 7:40.
Wow. So you beat
Like
them and everything.
3:35.
Wow.
Because Caleb was late because he apparently missed his bus.
Dang. Oh my goodness.
Because, like, he said he was sitting next to the person that was making the announcements. And, like, he never called his bus. So he was like, you were supposed to get off a few minutes ago. But he was like,
Test.
what?
Test.
She did a finger. As in what? Yeah, I drove down here after work. Yeah. Why did I wear my shirt? Because I felt like it was important thing. I feel like you did a good job putting that in there. You did a really good job doing that, so. When we leave, she said she was going to pick up the jersey. Very cool. Did they get to that store? Yeah, I think they're getting their
No, it wasn't.
times trying to find it. They're just something people together. Yeah.
Get more.
What do you think they're going to look? They give us some. No, that's a little bit of like in my school, what resources do I have? Oh, I guess you know. Not yet. Okay, I'm thinking we'll do more. No, next year you'll probably fun classes.
I would like to call to order the January 10th, 2022 meeting of the Southampton County School Board. We have 8 of our 9 school board members present. We have 8 of our 9 school board members present, so we do have a quorum. The first order on the agenda is the public hearing for the budget. The Code of Virginia stipulates that it shall be the duty of each division superintendent to prepare, with the approval of the school board, and submit to the appropriating body a budget for for the division. The code also requires that before any school board gives formal approval to its budget for submission to the appropriating body, the school board shall have at least one public hearing to receive the views of citizens within the school district. Our board has 2 public meetings concerning the budget. The first public hearing concerning the budget is tonight. The purpose of tonight's hearing is for citizens to give input pertaining to the preparation of the 22-23 budget for Southampton County Public Schools. So at this time, if there are individuals present who would like to make comments concerning the budget for the 2022-2023 school year, would you please come forward? So this is the public hearing for the budget. Please give us your name and address before you make your comments.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mandy Hall. I live at 19034 Lakeside Drive in Cortland, Virginia. So thank you all tonight for providing the opportunity for citizen comment on the division's fiscal year 2023 budget. Although, I must say, it's hard to know what to comment on. The lack of easily accessible financial information makes it very difficult for citizens to assess what type of feedback is actually warranted. The division website does not have any financial information at all, other than the required to be published per pupil expenditure. There's no finance manual, no list of how state funds are expended, no information on capital improvement, no annual reports, no audit committee reports, or reference to any audits at all. There's no budget information on the division website. The Code of Virginia states that an annual report of expenditures shall be made available to the public either on the division website or hard copy at the school division office. So it's not on the division website, and if one were to request it from the division office, it would be provided and buried in the copy of the county's budget book, starting on page 75 or so. So if you want genuine, helpful, and supportive feedback from the citizens, please provide us with the transparency that should be built into the budget process. That being said, I do have feedback on the future utilization of the ESSER II and ESSER III funds, also known as the Corona Response and Relief Supplement Appropriations Act and the American Rescue Plan. Together, these two allocated around $6 million to our division. That's on top of the $450,000 in CARES Act money that was given to the division and had to be spent between March and December of 2020, and the approximately $475,000 in ESSER I funds reimbursed to the division for activities, supplies, technology, services, and programs purchased to support the school division in the pandemic. So I'm here tonight advocating that the division utilize a good portion of the ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funds for a category that the state defines as the following eligible expenses: inspection, testing, maintenance, repair, replacement, and upgrade projects to improve the indoor air quality in school facilities, including mechanical and non-mechanical heating, ventilation and air conditioning, filtering, purification, and other air cleaning, fans, control systems, and window and door repair and replacement. So at any given school in our division, you have classrooms with windows that don't open, thermostats that don't work, bathrooms with no exhaust fans, teachers that have requested air purifiers and humidifiers, and classrooms that cannot maintain a comfortable temperature. The total amount available to improve these conditions is substantial. I realize that there are many other categories of needs that need to be fulfilled, and there are a valid number of categories in the division's ESSER 3 spending plan. But I hope the spending of these millions of dollars is thoughtful, effective, and responsive to the needs of the people that are in these buildings for at least 40 hours every week. Thank you very much for your careful consideration.
Thank you. Is there another person who'd like to speak concerning the budget? Then the public hearing concerning the budget is now closed. The next public hearing concerning the budget will be March the 7th. On March the 7th, the school board will hold a public hearing to present the superintendent's proposed budget and receive input on the superintendent's proposed budget. So that's on March the 7th. With the public hearing closed, I would like to now begin our regular meeting. So I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Southampton County School Board. Again, we have 8 of our 9 school board members present. One of our school board members, Ms. Florence Reynolds, has asked to join the meeting by phone from her home at 11516 Tucker Swamp Road in Zuni, Virginia. According to our board policy, we need a motion and a second to permit Ms. Reynolds to join us by phone. So do we have such a motion? I have a motion by Mr. Worsham, a second by Mr. Scott. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. So Ms. Reynolds? Ms. Reynolds? Yeah. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure you could hear us. Yeah. Thank you. The agenda for tonight's meeting was included with your school board information. I would like to add an item under information. So this is information items, and this will be item J, and it's a renovation grant proposal. So under 7, under information items, would you add a J, renovation grant proposal? Is there another school board member who would like to add an item to the agenda? Could we have a motion then to approve the agenda as amended? So be it. I have a motion by Mr. Smith. A second by Ms. Brantley. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The minutes from our December 13th meeting were included in your school board documents. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes from that meeting? So do we have a motion to approve? We have a motion by Ms. Bunn, a second by Mr. Scott. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Then the meeting minutes are approved as presented. The next item on the agenda is the Superintendent's Student of the Month recognition. So Dr. Shannon.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, I am honored to congratulate several of our students for displaying excellence in our schools and community. I take great pleasure in recognizing these students as they demonstrate remarkable citizenship and are role models to their peers. As always, I am proud of all of our students excuse me, for exemplifying excellence at Southampton County Public Schools each and every day. Ms. Hicks will recognize these students at the front and share with you why they were selected the Superintendent's Students of the Month. Mrs. Hicks.
It is indeed my pleasure, Dr. Shannon, to have this opportunity to present to our Southampton County Public School Board some of the most outstanding, wonderful, amazing, phenomenal students here in Southampton County Public Schools. Let's start off with the wonderful Capron Elementary students. If you're from Capron Elementary and your name is Destiny Nicholson, please stand. Destiny. Cullen O'Brien, Capron Elementary. Maharan, amazing Maharan. Amaya Barr, please stand. Come to me. Let's hear her. Sage Pava. All right. Amara, turn around and let everyone see you. Sage, turn around and let everyone see who you are. Okay, because they're going to take pictures and all of that. And then turn around so the school board can see who you are and your superintendent. I am excited to share the citizenships with these two Maharan students. Amaya Barr. Amaya is a third grade at Maharan. She's been chosen for being a model citizen to her teachers and peers. Amaya always seems cool as a cucumber. I see, that's what, she's not excited. Taking everything into stride and very serious. She is a classroom helper, good friend, and stellar student. And Maharan, with Mrs. Fowler, Amaya, wants you to keep soaring, Amaya. So tonight we want to celebrate you by being great, exemplifying great citizenship with a gift, a computer pad, and a key ring. Okay? So let's give Amaya congratulations. We would like for her grandmother to please stand, and her sister who's came and tried to keep still, so let's give her a hand for that. And her mother. Congratulations, Amaya. Next, we have Sage. Sage is a fourth grader at Maharan. He's been chosen because of his perseverance and determination. He has overcome quite a few hurdles in the past year. In the fall, he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. He has been a champ with learning and adjusting to his new routines. Mrs. Bell, school nurse, is super proud of how well Sage has handled everything. We would also like to thank his mother, Mrs. Jade Harrison, for being so supportive and helpful to us, to Maharan, during this time of learning. Sage, keep on doing what you're doing. We appreciate you, Sage. Give us that smile, Sage. I can see it, Sage. Let's give Sage a round of applause. And with his mother, his parents, that's right. Please stand. Congratulations. You may be seated. You may be seated. Good job. Moving on down to Nottoway, phenomenal Nottoway. Andrea Clary. Dynamic Riverdale, Robert Levi Saunders. Come on down. Can I call, can I be honored to call you Levi? Thank you. All right. Levi is a 5th grader who has been strong, courageous, hopeful, helpful throughout the start of school. He has not missed a beat and has done well academically as his mom has been healing. Levi has been a real champ at not only helping his dad, but his fellow classmates and teachers each day the school doors are open. Levi demonstrates, what is it, Levi? Raising by lifting who? Others. Let's give Levi a round of applause. Great job, Levi. I'm supporting you, Levi. And Levi, I want you to do 2 things. Take this, and I want you to turn around, let everybody see this handsome face, how sharp you look. Renovation. And it's your brother here.
Yes.
Mother, please stand. Mother, let's. Next. We're going to outstanding Southampton Middle School. Ashley Keach. Wow. Candy. Come on down. Can I talk, Mom? I remember, oh my God. When did this happen? You know, Mom, a kindergarten at Riverdale. Oh my God. Okay. Get yourself together, Mrs. I got it. Okay. All around excellence. All around excellence. Ashley is a 6th grader at Southampton Middle School. She understands that her purpose for coming to school is to become a lifelong learner. Ashley has always been very studious and carries herself in a manner of excellence. Our Southampton Middle School pride motto is, looking at us right here on today, when you see Ashley Keith, you see positive, respectful, intelligent, determined, and excellent. Congratulations, Ashley Keith, for doing a great job and being so amazing and a great role model at Southampton Middle School. Can we give our friend a round of applause? Thank you, thank you. Would your mother please stand? Thank you, Mother. Carter Grizzard from the middle school. Carter, turn around so you can see that handsome face. All right. Okay. Carter, citizenship. Carter is an 8th grader at Southampton Middle School, always willing to help others and loves what? History classes. Okay, yes. Congratulations. Let's give him a round of applause. Let me say that. Your mother and your father, your parents here, please stand. Hi, Mom. Yes. Our Stella High School students, William Butler. All right. Will, may I call you Will? All right. Okay. Here we go, Will. All right. Will Butler is a senior at the high school. He is president of the Student Council, the SCA, also a member of the Upward Bound, the Beta Club, Academic Scholastic Bowl Team, National Honor Society, Foreign Language Club, and I still have a rule, and the Marker Space Club. He's very busy. Also involved in leadership roles within the community. He will be awarded an associate degree from Paul D. Kemp Community College in May. Congratulations for being an exemplary student here and an excellent role model for all of our students here in Southampton County. And for you, Will, we would like to present this to you and your certificate. Job well done. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Laura Edwards. Laura is also for citizenship. Turn around so everybody can see you. There you go. All right. Laura Edwards is a senior at Southampton High School, vice president of the Student Council Association, president of the National Honor Society. She is a member of the Academic Scholastic Bowl team and the Maker Space Club. She is innovative, energetic, pleasant, and devotes many hours to supporting activities and events at Southampton High School. She will be attending in May, when she graduates this May, Bridgewater College. Congratulations for a great job, and we greatly appreciate you being an excellent high school role model. And for you, we have something for you, Laura, and your certificate. Is your mother? Okay. Laura, thank you. Are you another one? Dr. Shannon and school board, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks. On behalf of the entire school board, I want to congratulate the students who were recognized tonight. We're very proud of you. We want to thank you for all of your hard work and for the contribution you make to making Southampton County Public Schools the best school district around. So thank you very much. Now, you're welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting if you'd like, but if not, you can't leave at this time, or you can stay for the remainder of the meeting. So we'll take a 2 to 3 minute break to give people time to leave and congratulate students.
I want a picture of him with the certificate. Do you want to take a picture of him? Yeah.
We'll take a shot.
Before you put your jacket on. Yeah.
May I have your attention, please, parents and grandparents? Before you leave, we would like to have every child presented an award on tonight to take a photo, and it's right over there in the main hallway before you leave out, where there's a white chair there, a seat there. Please stop and let them take their pictures with their certificates before they leave. Thank you so very much. We greatly appreciate you. Every child will receive an award on tonight. Thank you.
She tries not to. She tries to avoid it. She don't take it as
Okay, so I think we can continue with our meeting now. We are at the public comment portion of our meeting. So it's time for public comments. So members of the community are invited and encouraged to attend meetings of the Southampton County School Board to observe its deliberations. We also have a public comment period included on the agenda of each regularly scheduled meeting of the Southampton County School Board. During the public comment period, board members do not answer questions, but we do listen to the comments and concerns of individuals who speak. Persons who wish to speak to the board should sign up in the lobby before the meeting starts. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes to talk. During the public comment period, we ask that speakers adhere to the following guidelines. That one, they should sign up prior to the start of the meeting. They should adhere to the 3-minute timeline. We do have a timer, a visible timer, to help all of us keep up with the time. We ask that speakers address their comments to the board and not to the superintendent or to other audience members. And we ask that speakers use language that is courteous and respectful. According to the sign-up sheet, we have no persons who wish to address the board tonight. So we're down to item 5 on our agenda. The first item under matters from previous meetings is the joint session with the Board of Supervisors. If you remember, at our December meeting, our board unanimously agreed to decline an invitation from the Board of Supervisors to attend the December meeting of the Board of Supervisors to give thoughts and reflections on the Board of Supervisors' proposed resolution in support of parental rights. We unanimously agreed to propose that the Board of Supervisors and the school board hold a joint meeting to discuss that resolution. At its December meeting, the Board of Supervisors agreed to have a joint meeting with the school board to discuss the Board of Supervisors' proposed resolution. The joint meeting, will be open to the public. The purpose of the meeting of the joint meeting is to discuss that proposed resolution. The meeting will have an experienced facilitator. The facilitator is a neutral individual, a person who can create an inclusive meeting environment, somebody who can synthesize, clarify, summarize main points made by participants, a person who can guide the process so the meeting stays on course, somebody who can make sure that all voices are heard, ensure that everybody has a role to play. The facilitator will help us move toward consensus. So that meeting will only have one item on the agenda, and that is to discuss that proposed resolution. There will not be any presentations. However, the county administrator and the superintendent will develop and distribute a resource list, list of readings, webinars, videos that participants can use to prepare for the meeting. So Dr. Shannon has an update on where we stand in planning that meeting. So Dr. Shannon, I think your microphone's not working.
Okay, as Dr. Goodwin stated, I do have an update on the planning of that meeting. I reached out to several entities, but one of them that I reached out to was the University of Virginia, the Weldon Cooper Center, and I spoke with the director, Mr. Charles Hartgrove, who is the director of the Virginia Institute of Government, and I asked him if he would agree to serve as a facilitator of the joint meeting of the Board of Supervisors and the Southampton County Public School Division School Board. And he has agreed to serve. We are currently working on dates, and so I'll update you all as soon as I have the dates from him. I'm hoping to have them by the end of this week. And I have talked with our county administrator. He is aware that I have reached out to Charles Hartgrove, and so Mike and I are going to work together on creating the agenda, and so we'll provide an update back to you all soon. Now, Mr. Hartgrove did state that he would not be able to meet in the month of January, that it may have to be pushed out to February, and I did talk with Mike Johnson about that, so he's going to share that information with the Board of Supervisors, and he'll get back to us.
Thank you, Dr. Shannon. So our plan then is to have this meeting in February, and hopefully by the end of the week, Dr. Shannon will be able to share some possible dates with us. The second matter from previous meetings has to do with the Facilities Committee. At our December meeting, we established a Facilities Committee. The purpose of that Facilities Committee is to help the board identify facility needs, to help the board review facility-related processes and procedures. And the chair of that committee is Ms. Lynn Bradley. So Ms. Bradley, do you have an update for us?
I don't have an update at the moment, but do want to get with Dr. Shannon and set up the initial meeting with her. I talked to Mr. Scott and Mr. Smith tonight, and we're going to get something hopefully scheduled within the next week or so. We also want to get into each and every one of these buildings. We are aware that we need to get into those and make a walkthrough of each one. But as it stands right now, I don't have any dates on anything at the moment. But hopefully by the next meeting, I will have a page for it.
Thank you, Ms. Bradley. So we are down to action items. So the first action item is the financial report and payment of bills. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Joy Carr is on her way to the podium to talk about the financial report and payment of bills. Ms. Carr.
Good evening, all. I would like to bring your attention to the preliminary expenditure report for the month of December. If you will see that our revised budget is now at $34,028,094.71. This amount includes recent appropriations of $375,916.71 for the local operating budget. The actual expenditures through December 31st total $13,032,099.28. This leaves us with a balance as of December 31st of $20,995,5.43. Please note that as of the date of this report, 38.3% has been expended from the operating budget. The December bill list has been attached to the agenda for the board's approval tonight. Are there any questions?
We have a motion by Mr. Pope. We have a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Second by Mr. Scott to pay the bills as presented. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The next item is the minimum wage increase. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, Ms. Carr is still standing so that she can make a statement about the minimum wage increase.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Yes, the minimum wage for the state of Virginia increased to $11 per hour on January 1st, 2022. All of our salaried employees whose wages fall below the minimum wage will receive an adjustment in their pay on the January 31st, 22 payroll. Other employees who are paid by the day or hour will see an adjustment on their February payroll for days or hours worked in January if their hourly rate falls below the minimum wage of $11 per hour. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We have several informational items tonight. So the first informational item is the maintenance, operations, and transportation report. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Will Melvin is on his way to the podium to talk with you about the maintenance, operation, and transportation report.
Good evening, everyone. Dr. Goodwin, board. There we go. All right. Maintenance, the crew's been completing a lot of small tasks over the break and a little bit of repairs here and there, and along with making their deliveries at the school. We did have a few things that popped up after that storm on the 3rd. At Capron, we had a couple of window leaks, and we have to figure out how to reseal the older windows. We've got to scrape them down and reseal them. We did have something happen where water came in the building, and we had an inspector come in, and he found that some bricks on the top of Capron are eroding a little bit. It's 70 years old. So we're going to have a mason come in and do some repair work on that to take care of that. At Meharon, we had some repairs done over the break, and the HVAC company forgot to turn the cold water back on, and teachers were sweating for a couple of days until we figured out what happened. So they came in and they took care of it. At Nottoway, we've had hot and cold spots. We've had an HVAC guy come in, and we keep monitoring that to maintain the temperatures there. In operations, food service continues to battle their problems with supply chain, and the ladies and the gentlemen in the kitchens have done a great job making adjustments to the menus, keeping bringing nice, healthy, nutritious, and delicious meals for the kids. In October here at the high school, they served over 9,000 meals, which is more than 2,000 that they've ever done, the highest they've ever done. They contribute this to offering the pizza and wings every day, and we will expand and introduce pizza into the middle school next month. Transportation department, it just gets done. I still talk about how better off we are than a lot of the divisions around us. We haven't had the interruptions, we haven't had the delays, or the shutdown of their system for transportation because of lack of drivers. Our folks have stepped up, and they continue to do so every day. And we can always use more drivers, so if you know anybody, send them my way. Thank you.
Thank you. The next informational item is the update on our COVID plan, Dr. Shannon, our health plan.
Yes, Mr. Melvin, if you would report back to the podium.
Yes, ma'am.
And tonight we actually have with us one of our new school nurses. She's actually division level. Her name is Miss Amy Rose. And so Mrs. Rose is coming to the podium as well. And we also have our STEM specialist, Rachel Vogue, and she's coming to join them. So they have a joint presentation tonight regarding the COVID-19 update. And, you know, in our day-to-day workings, we work very well together, very closely together. So tonight you'll see an example of just how everyone's working together throughout the division.
Hi, good evening. I'm Amy Rose, and again, I'm the new healthcare specialist nurse for the county. We're just going to give you a bit of update on the COVID information. The Omicron variant is noted to be spreading a whole lot faster and easier than the other variants, but the symptoms are typically less severe than with the Delta variant. And CDC reports that anyone with the Omicron infection can spread the virus to others, even if they are vaccinated or not. The COVID cases in Virginia, they remain relatively level with numbers under 5,000, excuse me, from October to December of 2021. But at the end of December, on the 29th, the numbers began to rise and they rose above 12,000. And then on the 31st, the numbers rose above 17,000. And the largest spike being now was January 2nd, with 19,506 cases in Virginia. The data as of 1/7, the number of cases in Virginia was 18,309 on that particular date. Southampton County averaged about, they had in a 14-day period 835 cases, and the 7-day average of the daily new cases was about 14. Then on October 21st, they had 15 cases. And then we go back down, we remained under 10 cases for Southampton County on a daily basis until December the 3rd. That's when the numbers rose back up to 15. On December the 4th, the numbers decreased again, went back to 5 or less. Then on the 29th, it rose again to the 15 and maintained around this number until we hit January. January 6th, the numbers had increased to 18. And then on the 7th, the new reported case with the highest number of cases thus far in the past 6 months was 23 for the county. And the cumulative case count for Southampton County as of January the 7th was 2,657 cases. We also have a graph here that kind of goes over showing you how the ups and downs and the spikes of the cases in Southampton County from October the 8th to January the 7th. And then the next slide has the COVID cases in the western Tidewater area, which is the area we fall in, letting you see how the numbers just spiked in the area around the late part of December. We have been having some vaccination clinics, and the vaccination status, as you can see on the graph, it has the state total, the state adult total, then Southampton County adult total, and Southampton County 17 and under total. And it just shows who had gotten boosters, who were fully vaccinated, breaking down the age groups, and who had had their first dose. The COVID vaccination percents in the state of Virginia, 77.8% of Virginians have had their first dose of the vaccination, and 67.9% are fully vaccinated in Virginia. Southampton County, we're just under the percentage rates of the state. We came in with the first dose 68.6%, and being fully vaccinated 57.8%. Of the people in Virginia, the age group, ages 5 through 17, 51% of those are fully vaccinated. The age group 18 and above, 89% are fully vaccinated. And then the age group 65 and above, 96% are fully vaccinated. The testing and vaccine clinics that we have held here, it's either Southampton High School or Southampton Middle School. On December 16th and 17th, we held a vaccination clinic. The Virginia Health Department was in charge of having people to come in, and it was open to the public. Anybody that was in the surrounding areas could register and come and get a vaccination, a booster, what have you. On the first 2 days that we did the clinic, 54 individuals received a vaccination. On January 6th in the morning, we had a screening testing here at the high school. That was just for pupils at the Southampton High School or the middle school, or staff members. 68 individuals were tested that day. 87 were actually registered prior to having the test. 80 were registered just within the 18 hours just before the tests were administered. Then on January 6th and 7th, we had another vaccination clinic at the middle school, and 148 individuals received a vaccination. And now for some guidance, the updates on COVID-19. The Virginia Department of Health Isolation and Quarantine frequently asked questions for K through 12 schools. On December 27, 2021, the CDC released their updates for recommendations to shorten the isolation and the quarantine periods for the general population. It wasn't until December the 30th, 2021 that the Virginia Department of Health released their updated interim guidance for K-12 schools in the form of the frequently asked question page addressing the updated guidelines. Isolation for positive individuals. If you have a positive COVID-19 test, the isolation time has been shortened from the prior 10 days to now 5 days long. As long as you have no symptoms or your symptoms are getting better. You're still, you have to wear a well-fitted mask when you are around others for an additional 5 days after your isolation period ends. And if you have a fever, you need to continue to stay home until your fever is gone for 24 hours without the use of any fever-reducing medication. The quarantine requirements for individuals exposed to someone who had tested positive for COVID-19. If they are unvaccinated or have not gotten their recommended booster dose, they should quarantine for 5 days, as long as they do not develop any symptoms within that time frame, and continue to wear the well-fitted mask for an additional 5 days when they are around others. The quarantine requirements continue if you have received your booster shot or received the second dose of the Moderna or Pfizer vaccines in the past 6 months, or you received the dose of Johnson & Johnson vaccine in the past 2 months, you do not need to quarantine following exposure. But you should still wear a well-fitted mask for 10 days around after the exposure when you are around others. For individuals exposed to COVID-19, the Virginia Department of Health recommends taking a COVID-19 test 5 days after. And if you develop symptoms, you should immediately quarantine until a negative test confirms you are not, you do not have COVID-19. For those coming out of isolation and quarantine, if they cannot wear a mask consistently and correctly, they should remain on isolation/quarantine at home for the full 10 days. In the absence of further guidance from CDC, if a child was fully vaccinated more than 6 months ago, but is not eligible for a booster, specifically the children ages 12 to 15, they should follow the previous guidelines for fully vaccinated individuals, which does not require quarantine after exposure. Virginia Department of Health is making this interim recommendation, balancing disruptions into in-person learning with the risk of transmission. And additional guidance, meals for the students returning from isolation or quarantine. Our best efforts should be made to make sure that the space for the entire class to protect the privacy of the individual is at least 6 feet during meal times. If a child with COVID-19 is in the 6 to 10 day isolation period and they spend greater than 15 minutes unmasked and less than 6 feet from others, then the other individuals are considered close contacts and they'll need to follow the quarantine protocol. According to Virginia Department of Health, individuals that come into contact with somebody under isolation on days 6 through 10 not be considered a close contact, as long as both of the parties had of the person being exposed consistently and correctly wore masks. In regards to student athletes returning from day 5-day isolation or quarantine, the individuals can participate in sports as long as they can adhere to a strict mask usage on days 6 through 10, including during play. If strict mask use is not possible, participating in sports should be delayed until after the day 10 of the isolation or the quarantine. If a student who previously tested positive for COVID-19 within the past 90 days is exposed again, they will not need to quarantine, given that they properly wear a mask and isolate immediately if symptoms develop. At this time, there is still no requirement of a negative test for quarantine or isolated individuals before returning back to school or work. Masks are still required inside all Southampton County public school buildings and while riding school buses and in the cars. Household contact is a little bit different. In the absence of the updated CDC guidance on this topic, individuals would need to quarantine at home until the household member is no longer considered contagious, which would be day 10. At this time is when that person's 5-day quarantine would begin. As with the previous guidance, if individuals can maintain complete separation, including no contact, no communal spaces, no shared bathrooms or bedrooms, then they may use the guidelines for non-household contacts. Thank you. Are there any questions?
So I do have a question. So with household contacts, for these children, if they're in a household with somebody who's positive, then what we're saying is that positive person, that child then is out for 10 days that the person is positive, and then a 5-day quarantine period after that.
And they can return on day 16 as long as they have not had any symptoms.
And that's specifically because it's household contact, and CDC has a
Yes, ma'am.
updated guidance
Yes.
for that. Okay. And then my other question was back on age 17, the quarantine requirements for individuals exposed. The statement where it says, in the absence of further guidance from CDC, if a child is fully vaccinated more than 6 months ago but is not eligible for a booster, they should follow the previous guidance for fully vaccinated individuals, which does not require quarantine after exposure. I was just trying to figure out what the previous guidance was. That I'm a little confused on that.
Well, they had changed the age group or the, the ages, and the boosters for the children have not been, I guess, approved at this time. So as long as they have gotten a dose, it would be like they had been fully vaccinated.
So they're going to follow the fully vaccinated. They're just, so that's what we need now to follow the previous.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So we're considering the fully vaccinated
Yes.
because there's a lack of approval for boosters for that age group yet. That's
Yes.
what I'm trying to clarify. Okay.
And that covers all the way up to 17 years of age for that fully vaccinated without the booster.
Okay. So are parents able to, if they have a child that they can truly isolate in a completely different part of the house, are they able to say it truly isn't a household contact because I have kept them completely isolated from the sibling who's positive? Are we looking at things on an individual basis like that? Or?
Yes, because I've even had some parents, they sent their child, if the parent or somebody was tested positive, they sent the child to go live with grandma.
Okay.
Until, and so it is under individual case basis, but we have been trying to inform the parents if they have questions, they can call and give them explanation.
Because that's the one that seems like it's the longest
Yes.
timeframe that's
Yes.
affecting children the most and keeping them out.
And it has helped that the 5 days has helped this, so instead of it being 17 to 20 days, and they are actually getting up to 24 days. So now bringing it down, so it's down to 15 days is helping a lot.
Right, definitely. Because the numbers are definitely crazy.
Yes.
And of course, the numbers for the county, when you look at some of these numbers too, that are being reported by the health department are PCR numbers. It's really no telling how many
Which
actual positive home tester. You
Mhm.
know, it's no telling what the real numbers are when you look at that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Additional questions?
Thank you all.
Next, we have Ms. Rachel Bowles, who will talk specifically about just division-wide data. Ms. Bowles.
I'm glad to be talking with everyone tonight. This is updating just on district-wide data and then a dive into month-by-month and school-based data. This is from the COVID dashboard that's published every day through Remind and on Facebook and the division website. So this first graph is going to be our SCPS COVID positive students overall, starting when the COVID dashboard began collecting data via a Google form up through the 6th of January. So from the 30th of September up through the 6th of January. You'll notice there are two blocks there on the graph. That's for fall break and for winter break. Since schools were not in session and students were not present in buildings, we did not collect data during that time from our principals and school nurses. And just looking at the shape of the data, if you did take a look at the previous presentation with Nurse Rose, you'll notice that our data mimics the same shape that we saw in the county data, where we saw that spike in early October, and then another one after fall break, and then one that we're experiencing now after winter break. And you can see that high in positive students there, number 68 on the 6th of January, where the previous high was 53 in October. These are the numbers for quarantine students. You can see again mimic in that shape. If you take a look at the vertical axis, you'll notice it is much larger, where we see an increase there up to almost and over 200 early in October, and then we're currently closer to about 150. I'm sorry, 131, my apologies. And so there are the numbers there. You can see the previous high was 211 back in October, and then our current top number for quarantine students was 131 on the 6th of January. This is the COVID positive staff data. You can see it has roughly the same shape, but of course our numbers are much lower, so the data is a little more erratic. And that's the bar graph. And then quarantine staff. And you'll notice that the numbers here again are very low, and in some cases are actually lower than the number of positive staff. But again, the same shape with the spike after October, less of a spike here after fall break, and then a definite spike here after winter break. And that combines a couple of the graphs previously, looking at positive students and quarantine students. So you can see how those shapes are similar. And that's the bar graph, and you can see the numbers there. I do apologize, it's a little bit cluttered. Okay. And then positive and quarantine staff, again, to show that similarity in shape. So then we have a series of deep dives trying to take a look at the data month by month to give a little better picture, because again, those bar graphs were very dense. So one thing that you'll notice is that as we get closer into the data, you'll start seeing some gaps, and those gaps are actually from weekends, since we do not collect data on weekends. So you can see those there. And this is the data from October to the beginning of November. So it's positive students, this is quarantine students. You can see that spike at the beginning of October and then trailing down to our long low period in mid-October to mid-November. There's positive staff, and then quarantine staff. This is the data from November. So you see we come off of that long low period, and we do have that spike after fall break. And we see that again with quarantine students. Then positive staff, and quarantine staff. And this is the data for December up through early January. You can see we had relatively low numbers at the beginning, and then you can see that very emphatic spike after winter break. With positive students and quarantine students, we're seeing almost exactly the same shape, but do notice the vertical axis is larger for quarantine students. And this is for positive staff and quarantine staff. This breaks down the data by school. So if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you'll notice a legend on these graphs. So Capron is that maroon color, Meharon is blue, Nottoway is orange, Riverdale is purple, Southampton Middle School is red, and then the neon green is Southampton High School. Something to keep in mind is that Southampton High School and Southampton Middle School, with their larger enrollments, have typically higher numbers here. And so you can see that with positive students, this is quarantine students. You'll see it mimics the overall shape of the county graph as well as the school system graphs that we looked at earlier. It's positive staff. Quarantine staff. And then I did go ahead and give you a deep dive here as well to be able to pull apart some of the Benton Bloods data. So this is that spike in the beginning of October, tailing off to that long low period in the middle of October to the middle of November. And that's positive staff. Quarantine staff. This is the October to November. Positive. Quarantine students. Positive staff. And quarantine staff. And then looking at December to early January, positive students, and you can see again that emphatic spike after winter break compared to the earlier spring. Quarantine students. Positive staff. Quarantine staff. And that is the data. Are there any questions?
Any questions from school board members?
Mr. Mayor, we will finish up. His health plan is included, thank you, Ms. Bowe. His health plan is included in our, in board doc, and he did make a few updates to the health plan. Mr. Mills?
Yes, ma'am. As I was going to say, we did take the new guidance and implant it into our existing health plan and make adjustments where it needed to be. We continue all of our same mitigation strategies. We can test, we can do everything that we can here in the buildings to take care of our students and our staff and protect them as best we can here. So the masks are still there, the cleaning supplies are still there, the cleaning practices are still there. So we're doing everything, maintaining that in the buildings to take care of everybody as best we can.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Down to item C, under the information item. At our December meeting, the board voted that teachers who cover a class for a colleague should be compensated for doing so. We understand that substitute teachers are hard to find, and that because of the shortage of substitute teachers, that sometimes teachers find themselves covering a class for a colleague. So we agreed then that there should be some compensation for that. So we asked Dr. Shannon to come up with that policy, and tonight she's going to tell us a little bit about how that's going to work. And we know that this compensation for covering a class for a colleague starts in January. It's not retroactive. It's effective January, so it wasn't retroactive back then.
Yes, actually our HR department is going to talk a little bit about teachers serving as substitutes as well as our employee educational reimbursement plan. And I will say that having our teachers serve as subs is not something that we really want to do. And it's a little different from a teacher electing to serve all year and teach an additional class period for an entire year. Them serving as subs is, kind of every now and then, and it's when the school is in a bind or when the principal is in a bind and they just cannot find someone else to cover a class or what have you. So they are not normally serving all day because they have their own classes. But anyway, we did think that it was important to make a recommendation to the board for some type of compensation, just so that our teachers know that we do value them and we do value their time and we appreciate everything that they're doing to help us to make it through COVID. Ms. Hicks.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Goodwin and Dr. Shannon. Our established teachers serving as a temporary substitute for a class period. We're making the suggestion that in the event that a teacher is asked to serve as a substitute for a colleague who is absent, the following will occur. The teacher will be paid at the rate of $15 an hour for the time that they serve as a substitute. The procedures will be established and published soon and will be, as Dr. Shannon stated, will be effective starting the second semester.
So what we're saying then is that teachers will know how this works prior to the start of second semester. Okay. Earlier in the year, maybe 2 months ago, the board approved a plan for employees reimbursement for education, because our thinking was that a benefit of working in Southampton County Public Schools, one benefit is continuing education. So we came up with, or we approved a policy that would allow any employee, not just teachers, but any employee to engage in an educational activity or take classes or workshops or obtain certifications, that kind of thing. So, so then this is a follow-up to the policy that we approved, and this is more like the procedure of how this reimbursement works.
Thank you, Dr. Goodwin. We want to start with the steps. Teachers must make a formal request to the Human Resource Department prior to beginning the class or completing the assessment. Complete the class or assessment request forms, as also within this presentation. Step 2, wait for approval. If you want to be reimbursed by Southampton County Public School Division, approval or denial will be decided within 1 week. Once class and assessments is complete with a passing grade or score, C or better or P pass, officially request reimbursement by submitting a copy of the form or the transcript, proof of your scores, or proof of your certification. Make the request no later than 6 months from the date that the course was completed. Remain employed by Southampton County for at least 1 year from when the reimbursement was acquired. And forms are available at the school board office. Next, we have the reimbursement disclaimers. An employee may be reimbursed for eligible funds, fees, and expenses for up to 4 classes, 2 each semester, not to exceed $2,000 total per calendar year. No employee will receive more than $2,000 of assistance in any 1 year. And of course, reimbursement depends on the availability of funds. The referral bonus process. Complete referral bonus forms in its entirety. $500 will be issued when the individual referred is hired. The remaining $500 will be issued when the newly hired employee remains employed at Southampton County Public School Division for a period of 1.5 years. And these are the forms that you have: the pre-approval form, the tuition form, and actually the bonus form. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Any questions? We are now down to item E under informational items, and that is the increased security. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, it's really unfortunate that, we are having to take some of the security measures that we're having to take today. But honestly, just today, one of our neighboring schools received a threat, and you all are well aware of the number of threats that we have received this year. So one of the things that we are doing at Southampton Middle School and Southampton High School is we will be utilizing metal detectors to enhance our security measures. And I think tonight when you all entered, everyone should have probably come through a metal detector.
Some of the other things that we are doing is we have door access controls for admission to each of our school buildings. Our employees have identification access badges. We have cameras in the hallways, parking lots, select classrooms, and program centers, as well as the exterior of our buildings. We utilize Navigate Prepared, which is our student emergency management system, and it's utilized by teachers and administration to handle incidents and to conduct drills. We have school resource officers, one is with us here tonight, as well as a school security officer who provide counseling and visibility in our schools. And these officers do help to make our schools safer. We have the increased presence of the Southampton County Sheriff's Office as well as the Virginia State Police. And from time to time, they will ask if it's okay for them to just walk through our buildings. And of course, we welcome that. We also encourage our employees to continue forming positive relationships with students in an effort to maintain effective self-regulatory actions among students, as well as to know where to go when they don't know, well, when they're not feeling okay, you know. And we often say now that it's okay to not be okay. And so we are really encouraging positive relationships with our students and staff so that students will feel comfortable telling staff, you know, when they don't feel okay. And to that end, we have hired additional staff and we moved them from the division office level into the buildings. And some of these people are our school psychologists, we have a school social worker, we have behavioral specialists, and we've also added additional nurses and CNAs. We are working on trying to get some additional counselors as well. And by students knowing that these persons are in the buildings, they are going to their offices, they are talking to them, and we are hoping that this will, you know, divert some of the negative feelings and possibly negative behavior that may exist if these persons were not there. So, thank you.
Any questions for Dr. Shannon? Mr.
I
Burke?
just want to commend you and your staff for getting on this and treating it with seriousness. Apparently you're treated with. I want to thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
And I think our patrons will thank you also.
Thank you. And I will say that we did have a parent to write us a letter expressing some concerns, and we read all of our parent communication, and you know, we took it seriously. But it was not because of that parent communication that we did this. It was because of the need. The need is just, it's there. You know, it exists. But we did appreciate the parent voicing her opinion.
We appreciate what you've done.
Thank you.
Additional comments? The next item, we're down to item F under informational items. We know the importance of communication. We know that we need to communicate clearly, effectively, efficiently, both internally and externally. So Dr. Shannon has come up with some practical tips. This is a handbook for communication that staff members will receive. So Dr. Shannon, you want to elaborate?
Yes, just a little bit. Actually, Ms. Gillette will go into the details, but I'll start off with some preliminary information. In your packet, you all have a copy of the communication plan, and this plan really contains a lot of information for our employees on how we will treat the public and different things that the public can expect of us. Also, we have various chains of commands in this booklet. And this booklet is not new. This is something that we've shared with the board multiple times, but I just try to keep it, you know, front of mind so that you all know that we are really working on improving communication efforts. And also, you'll see a PowerPoint that looks very similar to the booklet about communication, and this is a PowerPoint that we've utilized before. But tonight, we also have some preliminary practical tips for everyday communication with our parents, and that's what Mrs. Gillette will come forward and talk about. And we think it's important that we share some of these tips because we want our parents to know what to expect when they call a school. What's a reasonable turnaround time if they send us an email or things like that. So that's what we will talk a little bit about tonight. Ms. Gillette?
Good evening, everyone. I see you saved the best for last. So I do have the preliminary practical tips for everyday communication with parents. As always, we start with our mission and vision and make our division goals known. And as Dr. Shannon was speaking of, we wanted to talk about the flow of communication. We start with our teachers and our classified staff, to our guidance counselors, to our assistant principals, the dean of students, supervisors, then move on to principals, central office staff, the superintendent or their superintendent's designee, and then the school board. So what we're going to look at tonight is phone communication, email communication, face-to-face with an appointment, face-to-face without an appointment at the schools, and face-to-face appointment without an appointment at the division office. When a parent calls a school or the division office, they can expect the following. The phone will be answered promptly, at least by the third ring. A pleasant, positive, clear, and professional greeting will be heard. The person who answers the phone will actively listen to the parent, whether it's compliments or concerns. If the call is for a teacher, counselor, school or district level administrator, or any employee, if the individual is available, not teaching, the parent can expect to be transferred to their extension. If the individual is not available, the parent can be expected to get a call back within 48 hours. All employees will check their voicemails daily and respond according to the above guidelines. Parent expectations for email communication. So a professional response will be emailed within 48 hours. The emails may take a little time, that's why we say 48 hours, because they may require additional research. They may not answer all the questions, but we'll do the very best we can. We will not respond to any rhetoric or views and matters that are not relevant to educational matters within our school division. All emails will have a response and be acknowledged unless they are spam or from marketers or they are anonymous. What can parents expect from face-to-face communication with appointments? They can expect prompt, professional communication that they do not have to wait more than 15 minutes. If they do, they will have an explanation as to why. They will have the full attention of that employee, and the employee is permitted to take notes. And we do that all the time because we make sure we can give a summary and we know what we're passing information on. And if we have to do further research or contact other people, the employee would be actively listening. There'll be a polite tone and response from the employee, and there'll be a summary at the end of your meeting, and you'll discuss next steps, and you'll also have a follow-up, either email or a follow-up phone call. Now, what parents can expect from a face-to-face communication without an appointment? Now, we do have this happen where parents will go to the school or come to the school board office and they don't have an appointment. Now, if the person is there to see them, it goes back to the following slide where we talk about if the person is available, then we'll arrange for you to be transferred to that extension or meet with that person. However, if the employee is not available and it's an unscheduled meeting, then the secretary or the office personnel will ask if the parent needs to speak to someone else, if it's concerning something else, if maybe they've talked to the parent, has talked to the teacher, or talked to the principal previously, direct them to a person that may help them if they're unable to speak to the person they want to at that time. The secretary or office personnel will schedule an appointment for the parent on a date that works for both parties as soon as possible. And the same at the division office, what parents can expect for face-to-face communication without an appointment. Again, if they come to the school board office and the person is available, we're more than happy to meet with the person, with the parent. The secretary will check to see if if the employee is available. If they are, they will meet right away. And if they are not available, again, an appointment will be made in the future very quickly, as soon as possible, where both parties can agree on that date. And I do want to preference that we do have many emails that come in. Dr. Shannon herself gets hundreds of emails daily. They come from all over the state, from the Virginia Department of Education, from the DOE, from parents, from other school divisions. And we want to make sure that we are having the communication with parents. And so Dr. Shannon has set up a new email just for parents. So if you have a parent compliment, or you want to give high fives to our staff, if you have concerns, then you can email superintendent@southampton.k12.va.us. You can still email gshannon@southampton.k12.va.us, but sometimes things tend to get buried after so many emails come in. So we are recommending, and this will be on our website as well, that you use this email and you will get a faster response, again, within the 48 hours. And we hope that this communication plan will help with parents, and we want parents to know that we're here to listen, we're here for you. And all you have to do is call us, and if we're not the right person to talk to, we'll find the right person for you. Thank you.
Well, I've got a question. Now, how are parents going to know the plan? How are you going to share this plan with the parents?
Well, we're going to put it on the website. We're also going to have Remind that we can put it through. We also have Schoology that we can post on there as well. And parents have Schoology websites as well with that.
Any other questions?
I have one. Voicemails for people that have for everyone that has a phone. Voicemails need to be clear so that you can continue to leave a voicemail.
Yes, ma'am.
You call and and that they'll tell you that the mailbox is full, or the mailbox has not been serviced, or whatever. But each and everybody needs to check their mailbox.
Yes, ma'am. And that has been a priority we put forward to make sure that if you've received a different phone, that it is your voicemail that's on the phone,
Right.
and that the voicemail system is not full, that you're able to leave a message.
Now, I will note, though, that with our cell phone service provider, they only allow us to archive up to 40 voicemails. And many of us try to keep our voicemails. So now that we know that we can only archive up to 40, we are working through how to take the voicemails off of the phone and save them so that it will free up space for everyone else. And we just found this out really last week, that it was only 40. I was surprised that we could only archive 40 voicemails, but that's what we are. So if you call some of the cell phones and you get that it's full, it's because, we can only archive 40, but we're working through that right now.
Yeah, because that needs to be fixed. I mean, something needs to be done with it, because you need to be able to leave a voicemail when you call. If they can't answer the phone, then there needs to be where they can leave a voicemail. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Additional questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gillette.
You also might want to include in that communication with parents, there's a handout or page in here that talks about who to contact for what.
Yes, ma'am.
So you might want to include, like that, like area concern, the first level, the second level. So any
Okay.
information that you put out for parents, you might also want to include that information, because I think that would be helpful. To know that, if it's a classroom concern, call the teacher. If it's a, technology issue, whatever.
Yes, ma'am.
And you do have it. I just suggest you share with parents.
Thank you.
down to item G on the informational items. G and H would be the student enrollment report and the student teacher attendance report.
Yes, so our current enrollment, well, as of the November the 8th board meeting, the enrollment was 2,463 students, and then inclusive of preschool and special education, it was 2,600 students. So it's a little bit more than was projected. And then looking at who received the attendance award for students and teachers, Nottoway actually received both awards this month. So congratulations to Nottoway.
You have several newsletters and calendars included with your board documents, so please review those and attend events as COVID and your time will allow. So we're down to item J, which is a renovation grant proposal. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, Ms. Lorraine Green will come forward and talk a little bit about the renovation grant proposal. She actually was working on this before I became superintendent here. She's been working on this for a while, I think since Mr. Charles Thomas' time, if I'm not mistaken. And it seems like the time is right for her to kind of, continue to explore this. So she'll talk with the board a little bit about it.
That's exactly correct. I think it was like 2011, 2012. Sheriff Stutz and Mr. Charles Turner and myself were looking into removing the Title I trailer out of the, I think it's called the Public Works Loop. It's actually sitting in the middle of the road. And we were going to renovate the, what was in the 1800s, the poorhouse, and turn that into the Title I federal building, Parent Resource Center, and also staff development building. However, at that time, I was soliciting funding for the building when we decided that we really needed the track out here at Southampton High School, and that was $380,000, so we put our efforts into raising the funding for the track and abandoned renovation of the building. Since then, and even before then, the Title I building, this year alone, the Title I building has been hit 3 times by traffic going through. Over the years, I have seen the police cars pretty much kissing each other in that narrow driveway between the, what was again the poorhouse and the Title I building. Now I'm working with Sheriff White and with Dr. Shannon, and great news, great opportunity with the ESSER funding. They really are interested, the ESSER 3 funding in particularly, in what's called recovery of learning loss. And so this gave us the opportunity. There has been, let me see, the ESSER 3 is 4.3 million. ESSER 2 was 2 million, and then ESSER 1 was $500,000. And so ESSER 3 has given us the opportunity to have funding to renovate that building and finally remove the Title I trailer out of the road.
Well, I can stop you there because with the space limitation, we really might not move that trailer. So we still. Okay. Yeah.
Well, main goal is renovation of the building and to get that building into a functional and useful shape. The funding, ESSER 3 funding would be $758,580 out of the $4.3 million there, and then an additional $250,000 in local funds that we've gotten from another source. I have drawn up, I don't know whether you all have this or not.
We don't. Okay. We don't have anything pertaining to this.
All right, here, and this is, you can't see this either.
Well, you can just give us a general idea tonight. And
okay, what it is, when you go in the front door of the building, there will be offices, 5 offices down the left-hand side. And then the rest of the building from the doorway over will be wide open, and the front right area will be a Parent Resource Center and Virginia Preschool Initiative area. It'll be an area where parents can come in, whether they are ESL, whether they're from the under-resourced neighborhoods. There'll be computer stations in there for parents to use. And like I said, resources for them to work with their children at home, and also resources and training sessions for them to work with their children for recovery of learning loss. There'll be a workstation going on through the building, a workstation, and then a bathroom facility. And then in the back of the building will be an area where, with the ESSER funding, there's also a large amount of funding for instructional materials and resources for the schools. And so the back area will be like a receiving area, a loading dock, and that'll also be the handicap accessible area. If anybody's ever actually looked at the building, you see that there's a newer section over to the right, and that will be a conference room.
Let me interrupt you again. So are you telling us then that the funding then will allow for building renovations, that this funding can be used for building renovations?
Yes, ma'am. We've already gone through the initial, there's several different layers of approval. The grant itself, it has been approved, and the funding, the $758,000.
So the $758 will be used for building renovation, not for materials, but for building renovation.
Yes, ma'am. And then there's also additional funding for materials and furniture.
Okay. So, and we've had an architect to tell us we can do this for this amount of money.
Yes, Mr. Melby had an engineer, actually.
Well, we
Mr.
need an
Melby.
architect and an
Who's an architect and engineer?
Architect and engineer, yes.
What firm are we using to get these estimates?
Alpha Corporation, Jessica Blackburn was the individual that worked with us, and the gentleman's name was Joe.
I don't think we need to know the name, but I think what we need to make sure we're doing is that we're working with an architect and an engineer to make sure that we can do this renovation for $100,000 for the $1 million here. But it sounds like a great opportunity, and hopefully you'll keep us apprised in terms of how the funding is progressing.
Yes, and exactly what you're saying, we've been approved at like the basic level, and then this next level that Dr. Shannon and I have been working on is prior approval request for construction projects, and it does exactly what you were saying. We have to have an actual sign-off by an architect engineer.
So it sounds exciting.
Yeah. And I just wanted, Lorraine comes to me, you know, she has a lot of ideas and she does a lot of work with grants. And this was one of her babies. This was near and dear to her heart. But I wanted to make sure that our current school board was aware of this project because she had been working on it for a while. So that's why I had to bring it before the board.
And just backtracking just a little bit about, you know, whether to or not leave the trailer there in the road. The trailer has been there since the 60s, and there are actually places in the floor that I think that if the carpet wasn't there.
Right, and that was just a thought. I was talking with Dr. Shannon early in the week, and we were talking about her needing additional space. So that's why I was saying that building might end up being repurposed for something else. Yeah.
You know, of course, I will go with whatever decision you all make.
Right, yeah. Dr. Shannon was talking about her space needs.
So can you look through, I'm trying to, so if we remove the trailer, then where would these renovations actually take place?
The red brick building.
Let me see.
Actually behind the trailer?
Wait a minute.
You know where that red brick building is, that's sort of boarded up? That used
Let me
to be
see if I
school
can
board
find
office?
that building. Here it is. That's it. It's the one just to the right of the Title I trailer. And what I was going to show you here is if you look at this, the Title I building, going the wrong way. All right, the Title I building, you see that it's actually sitting in the middle of Utility Loop Road. It's actually sitting in the road. And I want to emphasize, it has been hit 3 times this year. Several years ago, it was hit so hard, I thought it was going to be taken off the foundation.
You know the building that used to be the school board office years ago?
And again, working with Sheriff White and the deputies that also use the area between the buildings there, they have been concerned that they're going to hit us, whether we're backing out or whether they're going to hit us personally as we cross over to the other buildings. And then there's also a little bit of concern that I have, because I have parents and I have pre-K students that come into the building to be screened, and then when they go out, I have to make sure that we go out and make sure there's no traffic coming between the buildings there. Thank you. Any questions? Any more questions?
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
We're down to item 8, which is matters from the board. The Appomattox Regional Governor School meeting is going to take place on Thursday, January the 13th at 2 p.m. I am the representative to that board, but I cannot attend the meeting on Thursday. So I was wondering if there is a board member who is available and willing to attend the meeting on Thursday at the Appomattox Regional Governor School in Petersburg. The meeting usually lasts an hour, hour and a half. There is a new director. This will be the first meeting, I think, that the new director has planned and will carry out. So is there anybody who is willing and available? So I guess that's a no. Well, then, we will not have board representation at that meeting. However, prior to the board meeting, there is the meeting of the superintendents, and the superintendent usually stays for the regular board meeting. So, Dr. Shannon, would you please make sure that we have representation at that meeting? Yes. Thank you. No, we won't have a board member. So pursuant to section 2.2-3711A1 and 2 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, the board, upon a motion and a second, will convene in a closed meeting to consider personnel appointments, resignations, and stipends, non-resident applications, student discipline review report, superintendent travel, and pending legal matters. So do we have a motion and a second? We have a motion by Ms. Reynolds, a second by Mr. Smith. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So we will convene in the library in a few minutes, and then we will return to this area to take actions on any items that might arise from the closed session. So we will move to the library for this portion of the meeting.